Welcome to Ajatella, the show that transitions you from think to change. And today we have with us Mr. Drake Masinde. He's a communication specialist, a writer, and a mentor. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And today we are speaking about the battle within. We fight battles every single day, but what happens when the battle is in the mind? So, Mr. Drake, my first question for you is, what happens, or what is the starter pack for a mental soldier?
For a mental soldier, the battle that you have is different from other battles, since the battle is based on what you feed on. And why I say what you feed on is because the mind is like a body, a muscle. If you don't exercise, if you don't give it whatever it is that is you're required to give it, it will not give you what when you expect it to give you whatever it is that you require from it. Mm-hmm. And so the mind is fed. What do you feed your mind? You feed your mind good things, you can feed your mind bad things, and whatever you feed it is what it will bring out. So the starter pack basically is composed of what you give it. If you don't give it the right thing, it will not give you back the right thing. If you give it, for example, the word of God, it will give you good values, good virtues. If you don't give it, if you give it for example, bad influence, the same thing will happen. So I believe the starter pack starts with whatever you feed it. Secondly, how you exercise it. The mind is exercised. So as a mental soldier, if a soldier who wins fights, who wins battles, you have to exercise, you have to work out. So how do you work it out? You work it out by having mental exercises, I don't want to call it gymnastics, but just mental workouts that are able to help your mind be able to be ready for that time of battle. Because the battles that come, they don't come based on, they're not programmed. Yes. They just come
Very true.
Out of the daily experiences that someone would have. I think that's the starter pack for soldier.
Wow. And you know, you've said so many good things, and if you can just start to unpack some of what you've said. The first thing is that battles of the mind or battles in life don't come with an announcement, you know. It doesn't come with a form of preparation, that you always have to be prepared. When we take the example, say, of the soldiers who are fighting in the army, you know, for a country, they are constantly prepared for battle.
Yes.
And even as you're speaking, one of the things I'm drawing out is that as a mental soldier, because we are all mental soldiers, we fight battles in our mind every day, yes, is that we have to be constantly prepared for battle.
Yes.
You know, God forbid that the enemy comes today, and that's when we're trying to put our things together.
Yes.
As a person who is fighting a battle in your mind every day, you have to be prepared, because you don't know what's next.
Yes.
So maybe we can start to unpack that. What makes people ill-prepared for battles in life? Why is it that sometimes we're found unprepared and we end up diminishing in that battle and not winning the battle?
The nature of man is to be passive.
Wow.
The nature of man is to assume that whatever could happen won't happen. Mm-hmm. I am of a different maxim that whatever, if you think it could happen, it will happen. If you have the mentality that it will happen, you will always find a way of preparing yourself for battle. And so you find that if you know it will happen, you will constantly work it out. So how do you transit from the place where you don't believe it will happen to the place where it will happen?
Wow.
First, it takes a mind change. It takes a mind change. Sometimes it takes a bad experience. And I believe in life, each and every person on earth has gone through a bad experience. Those bad experiences prepare you for the fight of your life. By the way, every human being will have to go through a fight for their life. And the fight of your life it can start today, end after 2 years. It can start today, end after 1 week. It can start today, end after 1 hour. But the fight of your life is what you're preparing yourself for. So to prepare yourself for the fight of your life, number one, you have to understand the kind of battles you could get into, especially with the mind. The battles of the mind mean that at a particular point in time, every human being will be depressed, every human being will be rejected, Every human being will need to have someone encourage them.
Sure.
Will need to have hope. Will need to be inspired. And so sometimes you will not get the hope or the inspiration. So what happens? Let me use an example in the Bible. David went to battle. When he went to battle together with his soldiers, he won the battle. That was supposed to be a very happy and glorious time. But when they got back from the war, they discovered that their wives, their children, and everything they owned is gone.
Yeah.
And when it happened to David, instead of those guys sitting and just brainstorming, how do we get out of this? They blamed David.
Yeah.
We should not have gone to battle. If we didn't go to battle, our wives, our children, our wealth would not have gone. And so, if you are David, what would you do? The Bible says David encouraged himself. And for David to encourage himself, it means he had had to have gone through a particular number of battles to know that there is a place where you encourage yourself.
Yeah.
And encouraging yourself basically is sometimes when you remember. How do you remember? You remember either by having read, having listened to things that can build up your mind. That's why people read the word. That's why people meditate. That's why many people also surround themselves with people who affirm them. And so sometimes David remembered the times when he was a boy, a young, let me say 15 to 17-year-old boy, and he was taking care of his father's sheep. And as he was taking care of his father's sheep, boom, a lion came, he fought off the lion and won. And then he remembered, if God did it for me think about it. You're a 17-year-old boy and you're fighting a lion. A lion is like at least 300 kilos.
Absolutely.
And you kill the lion. And we are never told anywhere David had a weapon. It's only mentioned that he had a stone, a stick, and probably a sling. So how do you kill a lion? Okay, I don't want to get into the semantics of that, but basically, David won. And based on the battles that he had won before, when it came for that battle of his life, he won.
Wow.
And that was not even the main battle. And so that just gives us a microcosm of how to win battles. You have to be prepared. And another thing is you will fight small battles. Before you face the big battle, there will be small battles that you will fight before. It could be a battle of, I'm not going to take up that drink again.
Yeah.
It could be, I'm not going to be physical with someone. I'm not going to answer back. I'm not going to talk back. I'm not going
you have to restrain.
I'm going to restrain myself. And so that is just as I unpack, because I think it's something that we can talk the whole day about how to unpack it. I think that's just something that you can do to start to be able to sort out the battle.
You know, of the mind, you know, and even when you're speaking, you've said something very powerful, and that it shows us the battle of the mind is different from the battle that is a physical battle.
Yes.
And you know, even as we begin to conclude, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how do you win the battle when the battle is within? You know, maybe there's someone watching us at home and people don't know they're facing a battle. Yes. On the outside, they look fine. You know, they can dress up, they can go to work, they can go to church, they can, you know, just be very productive in the society, but they're facing a battle in the mind. So even as we conclude, what would you tell the person at home? How do you win the battle when the battle is in the mind?
How you win the battle? Number one, you first have to accept that there's a battle going on. Denial, just denying that it is day, does not mean it will be day. You can't behave like an ostrich. You put your head in the hole, or is it in the sand? You can't do that. You first of all have to accept that there's a battle that is going on. So acceptance is the first thing. Second thing, you have to seek help if you cannot go out of it. Seeking help comes in many ways. It can be through a friend. It can be through attending a session of some sort. It can either be sitting with a professional counselor, a pastor. It can be sometimes, if you have worked out enough, and that's why I started with working out, you can be able to handle it on your own. Because I think many people don't believe that you can be able to win a battle on your own. And many people believe because you can because it has been said you can win on your own,
Yeah.
that they can actually do it,
Yeah.
win on their own. But I don't believe that is how it starts. I believe it starts by, first of all, accepting. After you accept, you seek help. Then after you seek help and you're given the plethora of solutions that you have been given, the next step is actually doing or working out or implementing that which you have been received.
Yeah.
Most of the problems, especially in the battles of the mind, is you know the problem, you know the truth, but you have not implemented the truth.
True.
And if you implement that which you know will help you win the battle of the mind, that's how you're going to win the battle. Because as you implement, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. And eventually, you will win the battle of the mind.
Wow, thank you. And I know we can continue with this conversation and we'll take this forward. Yes. But you know, for me, one of the things that I take away is that the battle of the mind is a different battle from the battles that we face physically. And that you have to be a mental soldier with the highest level of fitness of the mind, that you should be prepared for battle. Yes. That's my parting shot. What's yours?
My parting shot is accept. Accept that you're in a battle of the mind. Second thing is, after you accept, when you have received help from whatever sources, it can be from within and from without, implement that which you have to succeed. An example, if you know you have a problem, for example, with alcohol, and alcohol puts you in a lot of trouble, go and get help. And after you get help, whatever it is that you discover can work for you, go, after you come out of that rehab center, for example, you stop taking the alcohol. If you know if you mix with the wrong friends, you're going to take alcohol, do it. Don't mix with the wrong friends, the wrong environment. That's just an example that we can use to explain this. And so after you accept and you get the help, and the last thing is you have to implement. Implement whatever it is that you know, and I think you're going to win the battle of the mind.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. We have really had a good time and we'll take this forward. Thank you again for watching Ajatella from Think to Change. Have a good evening.